My name's Gareth Benest from InsightShare. I'm the Director of Programs at InsightShare. We're a small UK-based organisation specialising in using participatory video, principally within international development context. And as Director of Programs, I have primary responsibility for overseeing all of our programs around the world. My experience of using participatory video as a methodology spans 10 years. I've worked as a facilitator directly within numerous projects around the world, across Africa, Asia, Latin America and the UK. And I've also worked as a project manager and director of programs for many programs, working with various different groups around the world in a variety of different circumstances and for different applications. Principle among those would be good, careful and skillful facilitation. The methodology of participatory video can be learned. We run courses for people to learn the basic principles and approaches of the methodology as understood and practiced by InsightShare. But the skills to be a good facilitator are in many ways, I believe, innate. They are central to what makes a participatory video project succeed or fail. In addition to that, good participant selection, careful participant selection is important, making sure that you have a cross selection of participants from the community that's been represented, and that you have a balanced power dynamic within that. Also important to any successful project is careful application of the methodology. It's not a methodology that can be applied to everything and anything. It's not a golden bullet. It's not a panacea. It doesn't solve all ills, but it is very appropriate under certain circumstances. So where it is applied carefully and mindfully, then it can be a very good approach for unlocking some intractable situations that communities or groups are facing. In a therapeutic context, it can open up opportunities for people to reflect and to do so in a safe environment, and to be able to reflect and then immediately review back and reflect on what they've been exploring through video. It has to be done in a way that ensures participants understand that it's a safe space, that the video is under their control, that what happens to the video, who sees it, if anyone sees it, is entirely under their control. That is absolutely central to a successful process, in my opinion, and particularly within a therapeutic context where a potentially permanent record of the reflections that have been recorded is available. So establishing ownership and control over what is recorded is absolutely essential to being able to allow participants to freely reflect and to feel confidence in their participation in the process. And a willingness on behalf of any organisation or individual using participatory video amongst any group, particularly for therapeutic purposes, a willingness to destroy, to delete anything that's recorded has to be clear and established with the participants beforehand as well. Any sort of prior any intentions to use that video for any other purpose other than therapy could immediately bring it into conflict with the therapeutic aims of the process. So whilst it is video as a tool to enable people to share and to reflect and to do so as a group but also individually. It's one must strip away, particularly in a therapeutic context, any preconceived notions about video as a mass communication tool that would immediately undermine the purpose for choosing it as a tool in this context. Obviously, the approaches that are used by practitioners of participatory video are as diverse as are the practitioners and as are the groups that are being engaged with. So flexibility of approach, willingness to be flexible and to adapt according to the circumstances and also the participants is absolutely central. I talked a little bit earlier about power dynamics and establishing a group of participants where pre-existing power dynamics within the wider community from which they're being drawn as representatives have to be ameliorated. So finding ways of either circumventing those pre-existing power relationships or using the methodology to try to break those down is vitally important. So bringing together different people from those different strata within a community is vitally important. Levelling the playing field, ensuring that no one person gains a dominance over the process. The methodology that we practice ensures that everybody has equal access to all the roles in the video production process, to all the decision-making processes, helps to break down any tendencies of individual participants to dominate, to want to steer the process. But again, it has to be very skillfully facilitated, because within any group, some people will naturally take a back step and others will take a forward step. So it is incumbent upon the facilitator to ensure that those differences between the participants are equalised as much as possible. And the methodology tries to ensure equal access to all aspects of the process, as I said, within production, decision making, and all other parts of the process, which helps to break that down and helps to temper the propensity of some to want to dominate, or for others to want to take a back step and allow others to lead. I think to any consideration of using participatory video within a therapeutic context are the impacts of participatory video on the individual, which in many other contexts are often overlooked. So when participatory video is used perhaps as an advocacy tool or as a horizontal sharing tool, the impacts that tend to be focused on or noted are the impacts on the issue at hand or on the wider community in terms of how the video process is impacting, whether or not putting that video in front of particular stakeholders or decision makers is helping to overcome the problems that they're communicating. Some of the most significant impacts through the participatory video process that I've noted as a facilitator are the very personal impacts on the participants themselves. The shifts in confidence level, in awareness, in critical consciousness, in ability to connect with others around them, and in group working skills. These are the sorts of impacts which, as I say, often get overlooked. They're some of the most difficult to measure, but they are the most constant in my experience. I've never undertaken a participatory video process where I haven't noticed very significant shifts amongst the participants. Whether or not those are very long-lasting shifts, I wouldn't be able to say, because the engagements that I have for groups tend to be on a shorter time frame than would allow me to answer that question with any confidence. But certainly there are very significant shifts in the short term on participants that I've worked with, which I would assume carry through into the longer. And so when one's considering using participatory video as a tool for therapy, I would be very confident, or within a therapeutic context, I would be very confident of the potential for the process to help unlock certain personal constraints upon the participants that there are. But it would have to be handled very carefully and very delicately, and obviously with other facilitators or therapists who have established relationships with the participants, who were able to guide and advise and to ensure that the participatory video process was just a part of a wider process that was going on with those participants, so that it fits into a much broader framework and is one of a number of activities which helps to create spaces for them to reflect and to communicate with one another or with others. No, just to reiterate really that I have every confidence in participation video as being a very appropriate tool within certain therapeutic contexts. But you know, that comes with the caveat that it needs to be done carefully and skillfully. It isn't necessarily the case that a facilitator would need to have a background in therapy itself, but they would need to be very confident and very skillful facilitators, and that takes time to establish, and they would need to work with a confident and competent team around them who are able to provide the rest of the support network that those participants would rely upon. The participatory video needs to be very clearly understood by those participating in it. Participatory video as a methodology doesn't necessarily have to be understood by the participants, but the project, the reason why it's being introduced, the aims, the objectives, have to be very clearly communicated and understood by the participants, and anyone engaging with it has to do so very well informed, and has to, in my opinion, retain ownership and control over what is ultimately their intellectual property. So finding a way for groups to manage their ownership over what they create, and to ensure that they have control not only over its creation but also over any distribution, be that one-to-one screenings or much wider dissemination through the internet or television or other community screenings perhaps. That has to be within the control of participants. So it's about establishing trust, respect, control, and support networks in order for this to take place. And video is just the tool, it's not the end in itself. So should anyone be considering participatory video as an interesting means of creating a video that they already want, I would advise them probably to hire a production company and make the film that they want. Participatory video is just a way of engaging with groups and using this tool of video as a way of unlocking certain things. It's not a way of producing a predetermined video, and it may as well, we could be dancing or doing poetry or doing anything else besides. It's just video. Seems to be a particularly good way of doing certain things. So with all that in mind, and with all that said, I'm a firm believer and a strong advocate for participatory video, and can be contacted at InsightShare to discuss participatory video and to help anyone explore it as a methodology if they're interested in using it.